What is going on, YouTube people? Today, another edition of the weekly sports card market update. Let's just go ahead and dive right in. We got a lot of nonsense to get to. First up, 17 days from the National. Time is a ticking. Are you still on the fence? Are you coming? Are you not coming? Are the vibes like what? Give me fire off away in the comments down below. How are you feeling about this upcoming show? Are you coming? Are you not coming? What are you looking for? What do you want to see from a content side if you are not attending? But it will be here before we know it. We are basically 2 weeks away. And we got the fancy little interactive map thanks to our friends over at Ludex. This is on the Nationals website. You can now get a sense for what the show floor is going to look like, and you can see it here in all its glory. Look at all those dealer tables. A little corporate area over here, another corporate area over here, breakers are down here, autographs over here. Excited, cannot wait. I saw that Beckett has finally announced their national pricing. The only thing I am still waiting to see is what is going on with Rapid Redemptions. Is Top/Fanatics going to be doing the Rapid Redemption program? I assume that they are, but, and correct me if I'm wrong, I have not seen any details on it. Maybe we will get that this week now that we are past the holiday and we are just 2 weeks away. Before we dive too deep, shout out to channel partner ComC.com, the sponsor of the weekly sports card market update. They have a 30% off TCG event running right now. This goes until basically the end of the month. So you have all month to get cards in for this. 30% off Select and Elite. You can also drop off in person at the National or one of the other many shows that they are at. If you are not turning your cards that you just have laying around that you are too lazy to deal with in the inventory on ComC, I don't even know what you're doing with yourself. One other quick little side thing, and then we'll get back into nonsense. 2 spots left remain in the Fantasy Football League. I'm an idiot and forgot to post the league information in the description of the video down below last week. So I promise you I will do that this time around. But 2 spots left in the first Best Ball League. $5. It's a slow draft. It pops up, gives you a notification when it's your turn to pick over there on Underdog. Either on the app or on the website. Okay, news time. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. I've done 2 videos on this already, and this thing has been beaten to death, and will probably get beaten even more. The PSA Vending Machine, if you want the full details, watch yesterday's video, but basically, this thing has gone all sorts of sideways. PSA is distancing themselves from it and the people that operate it as fast as humanly possible. But the milk has kind of already been spilled in this case, and it is beginning to run all over the place, and everyone is in cleanup mode. Seems like every day something kind of new comes out about this whole mess. We will see if these things have any presence at the National whatsoever, or if they just completely go scorched earth on the vending machine. Next up, Fanatics Fest. That'll be the hot talking point the second the National ends and everyone does their little recap videos. We will be moving fully into Fanatics Fest. They have launched their dealer page. It's actually been up for a hot minute, but I haven't really talked about it. You scroll through this dealers list, and it is a who's who of dealers in the hobby. They are not messing around with this thing. The dealer list looks absolutely insane, and they are continuing to add people to it. I saw right before I started recording, they added a whole other batch of dealers to this. So this thing looks like it is going to be a stacked lineup in regards to dealers. I also saw they announced kind of a cool panel. I have no vested interest in either one of these 2 teams, but as someone that was a massive baseball fan during this era, I might actually look into checking this out. They are doing a Derek Jeter, David Ortiz panel at this thing for the whole Red Sox-Yankees rivalry. And I just thought that was pretty cool. I may end up trying to check that out. They still really haven't given a lot of details on like how panels are going to work. On like for New York City Comic Con or most Comic Cons, A lot of times you have to like pre-buy tickets to these things. So they have caps on stuff. I just don't have a vibe for how that stuff's going to work yet with this. We talked about autograph pricing going up a couple of weeks ago. So we'll have to see if more details on how the panels are going to work as we get closer to the show, or maybe they're just going to be completely wide open to everyone that's there, which could very well be the case as well. I don't know what the building setup is going to be like. I have it in my mind, like how NYCC is set up, but maybe they're going to go a little bit of a different direction. We will have to see. The other big news of the week was Walmart entering the space with their marketplace. I still have, I watched a bunch of people's content on this. I am still kind of slightly baffled on exactly who this is targeted to. I'm guessing, like I kind of talked about before, maybe shops, and your target market is people that don't typically buy sports cards looking to buy sports cards, whether that's wax or singles. That's still the only logical argument I could kind of make for this thing. And if that's what you're going for, sure, I guess. It's no real skin off their back. They already had a marketplace. So them wanting to double down into the collectible side of things isn't like, I can't imagine it's a massive lift for them. Maybe it is, other than maybe like marketing blitz. But it's not like they built this thing from the ground up specifically for sports cards. So if it fails, I don't think this is going to hurt Walmart very much. Also in major corporations making waves in the sports card space, GameStop reared their ugly head again. Obviously, about a month or two ago, we had their whole buyback program with graded cards. They have now placed a bounty on the 1-of-1 Lionel Messi Panini sticker. Now, why? I have no idea. I don't know if they want this thing for a headline or for a repack or something. It just seems weird. Bounties in general, like I kind of get, like if you're a collector of the card and you really want, like Post Malone put that one out there on the One Ring because he's a massive Magic the Gathering fan. That seems all well and good. Corporations putting bounties on cards seems a little weird to me. I don't know how I feel about this one. I mean, it doesn't no skin off my back. I can give a crap about soccer, let alone soccer stickers, but I don't know that I want to compete against, Apple. Apple wants whoever's 1-of-1. I don't know. That just seems weird. It just seems strange. I don't know what they really want with it outside of headlining a repack or something like that. So we'll see where this goes. But GameStop continues to flirt around with the card space. Panini. Little Panini news. They finally have decided to actually do something with Caitlin Clark. They signed her as an exclusive athlete. And outside of a couple really meh Panini instant cards, they really have not done a whole lot. Topps definitely murdered them on the Caitlin Clark stuff. Their Topps Now stuff was way better than the product that Panini is putting out there, even with some of that stuff being sticker autos and stuff. It's an exclusive set specifically made for Caitlin Clark, which I guess is fine. That's actually kind of a cool image there with the shadow. These are sold, I believe, in blaster boxes. I'm not sure if there's hobby boxes too, but some of the cards are a little strange. Like, no comment necessary. I'm just going to kind of scroll through here, and does just anything pop off as being like a little weird, maybe? I don't know. Not for me, that's for sure. And you want to collect Caitlin Clark cards, collect Caitlin Clark cards. I don't care. But this set, I don't know about this one, Panini. I think you went a little off the rails with this one. Yeah, to each their own. I'll just leave it at that. Let's go ahead and dive into some charts and graphs over at Market Movers. Link in the description down below if you want your own version of charts and graphs. There's a coupon code. There's all sorts of nonsense. First up, he's back, ladies and gentlemen. He is back, and his cards are going to the moon. Kevin Porter Jr., KPJ, legendary pandemic player / card. This thing has been a roller coaster ride. His stuff was a roller coaster ride right from the get. Back in the news, he signed with the Clippers. And look at that graph going right to the moon, right up the old roller coaster. His Silver Prism PSA 10, mind you, was sub $10. It is now up to about $35. So a huge 724% increase on KPJ Silvers. No idea if he would even play a minute. I listened to some podcasts this weekend, and they basically said that he is on a zero tolerance policy, that one little screw up and he is gone. And he is a pretty big head case. So we'll have to see what happens with this. Super talented basketball player, but man, oh man, wild off the court, in the locker room, all over the place, and has done some very suspect things in his very short career. But it's just crazy to see him back in the news and his card prices back going up. Probably one of the biggest gainers percentage-wise of the week, which is absolutely wild when you actually sit down and think about it for a minute. Next up, Wemby. Wanted to talk about Wemby a little bit. We did that video about the Wemby pop counts on Friday and how they were going to the moon and stuff. And I was kind of just curious to pop in and look at some pricing data for him on just Prisms, because I haven't really looked at it for a hot minute to kind of see if things have kind of settled down a little bit. Right now, his base PSA 10 Prism is going for about $100. His silver PSA 10 Prism is going for $1,000. The first thing that I kind of wanted to show here is, on these new releases, stop buying this stuff. I mean, we talked about this a million times. Do not chase this stuff right out of the gate. Let the inventory flush itself out. Especially if you're talking about a silver Prism of a guy. These cards are not rare. You can wait. It'll be okay. There's no need to FOMO into this stuff the first really couple months, but at least the first couple weeks out of release for the hyped guys. If it's someone no one's talking about, that's a different story. But for the headliner of the product, just wait. You know, look at these prices, how high they were early on for his silver Prism. I mean, they were around $2,000 just a few months ago. This is March of 2024 we're talking about. That's 3-4 months ago when this thing was a $2,000 card, only because of limited supply. Now, right now, the PSA 10 Pop is at about $2,400. PSA 10 Pop on the base is at $14,000 already after not a ton of time. Now, if we shorten things up here, and we look at the last 60 days, that basically kind of goes back to the end of the NBA season. But over the last 60, his base PSA 10 is down about 42%. So a pretty decent drop off there. Once again, a boatload of supply coming onto the market. The silver has actually held pretty okay over the last 60 days. It's basically sitting at $1,000 card. My guess is it's probably going to float around there for a little bit. As I've stated many times before, when these cards either spike or drop very quickly like this, they usually settle in at around what their new floor value will be. And it feels like around that $1,000 mark, give or take probably 10%, either way, maybe 5%. That this thing will probably sit around $1,000 throughout the summer. They're not going to probably make any big crazy free agent splashes. They brought in Chris Paul. They're probably going to be maybe a bubble team best case scenario next year. So you have probably another year of him not making the playoffs before they really probably start to add legitimate pieces to that team. But he could have an absolute monster season next year. What he showed in his freshman year is absolutely insane as a rookie. And we'll see if he could grow on that in year two, depending on injuries and all that stuff. And with Chris Paul kind of mentoring him a little bit. But just be aware, like we talked about on Friday, the population counts on his stuff is out of control. Just be very, very picky in what you're looking at, the chase of his stuff. Now, you know, if you're looking to buy a silver Prism today in the hopes of flipping it in a couple months, that's a different story. If you're buying to actually, air quote, hold on to it long term, you know, don't maybe look at least base and silver Prisms even for that sort of thinking. So kind of keep that in mind. Just wanted to check in on his prices. Another one I wanted to look into, I wanted to let this one breathe a little bit. I was curious on the effect of Bronny getting drafted by the Lakers. Bronny, as we well know, 55th pick in the draft, the most talked about 55th pick in the draft ever. I could care less if the Lakers basically burned a pick on this to keep LeBron happy. Most NBA second round picks absolutely suck. This really isn't that big of a deal that people are making it out to be. This kind of stuff has been going on forever. Look at Giannis, has his brother on the team and has been on the team forever and basically never plays. This is nothing new. His prices did get a little bump up. This card was sitting at around 200 and some bucks earlier this year. This is January, February numbers. And this is Raw, by the way, his first Bowman. It's slowly downshifted in price like you will, further and further away from release. And the news of him, not being a first round pick and then dipping into the second round, and he had the health scare, all that stuff, wasn't playing that great at USC. This thing basically settled in at around, got down to as low as $100, $125, $100. And then with the draft and him going to the Lakers, it did spike back up again. We see a 163, we see a 200, and then a back down to the 160s, 170s, which is where it's sitting at now. So definitely got a bump from the Lakers. Will Bronny be good? I have no idea. Will it be really cool when LeBron and Bronny share a moment on the NBA court at the same time as father and son? Yeah, that's going to be pretty cool. If you're a basketball fan, that's a cool moment. And there'll hopefully be some really cool cards made around that. Sucks they'll be in Lakers jerseys, but what are you going to do? Let's switch gears a little bit. Talk a little baseball before we kind of wrap things up. Another one that I wanted to check in on, J-Rod. Julio Rodriguez is having a nightmare season. If you drafted him in fantasy, you are probably not doing too well this year. He is not hitting well at all. I believe they dropped him down towards the bottom of the batting order recently. His PSA 10 first Bowman is down 32% since March 1st. He had a lot of hype coming into the season. I bought into the hype. I have a first Bowman refractor auto of his. I had the dual auto of him and Bobby Witt. Now, luckily, that right now is getting carried by the Bobby Witt side of the equation, but his refractor auto is down 32% or 30-ish% as well, down to 1,600. So basically a 30% haircut across the board on J-Rod's, at least first Bowman autos, and I'm sure that probably reflects to a lot of his other nicer stuff. So there's either going to be a little bit of a buying opportunity here, or this thing's going to continue to go down if he cannot get it turned around. Notoriously slow starter, but this definitely seems to be a little bit on the extreme end of things. I'm not 100% sure what I want to do with my first Bowman. I will probably hang on to it as trade bait for the National and maybe use it to move into something that I would rather own. Hopefully he can get going again and turn things around in the second half of this season and lift his prices back up a little bit. I keep waiting for him to catch fire, and it just does not seem to be happening. I got him in cards. Luckily, I avoided him in drafts, but I did make the play for the first Bowman refractor auto. Also in the baseball world, James Woods. Talked about him briefly last week. He got the call up. Has played fine this week. Nothing crazy. He's looked all right. But once again, when these prospects get the call up, in a lot of cases, that is the best time to move them. Now, Wood could have a very long career. This thing could be a monster card. But if you're into it to flip it and make your 10, 20, 30%, whatever it is, we can see here as things climbed as rumors and, he continued to play really well, built throughout the early parts of spring and summer, peaked here where he got the call up, and look, prices immediately started retracing. This is his first Bowman, just the base PSA 10, sitting at about $465. And this, once again, goes back to March 1st. Since March 1st, this card's actually down slightly. In the early parts of the spring, it was a little bit higher, and then it dipped when he did not make the team. There was a little bit of speculation he might make the team out of camp, and then that didn't happen. So his card prices dipped back down again and then slowly built back up as the summer went on. Now he actually is in the big leagues, playing perfectly fine, and his card prices are dropping because that's what happens with these guys 9 times out of 10. I mean, look at the guys from the beginning of the season that we talked to death. Holiday, Churio, Wyatt Langford, Jackson Merrill, all those guys, for the most part, all went down quite a bit once the season started and we moved into the actual season itself. Last but not least, just to check in on Skeens. One, Mr. Paul Skeens continues to go to the moon. Guy's an absolute monster on the mound. Really like watching him pitch. This is his first Bowman PSA 10 and PSA 10 refractor. Going back 90 days takes us to the early parts of April on this one, up 113% on the base and up 142% on the refractor. $850 for his base Bowman, $1,600 for his refractor first Bowman. Listen, kid's electric, all going to come down to health. And putting a ton of money in the pitchers is a scary, scary proposition. They're super fun. It sucks because pitchers are awesome. I love watching a strikeout pitcher. I've talked about this before. There's just something about when an electric pitcher is on the mound like this, going back to when I was a kid. You know, when Randy Johnson was pitching, it was appointment television. When Greg Maddux was pitching, it was appointment television. When Clemens was pitching, it was appointment television. Kerry Wood, Pryor, all those guys. You cleared your schedule out when one of them was on the mound on like Sunday Night Baseball or something like that. It just sucks that there's so much wild volatility in their pricing because of all the injury issues that are associated with pitching in general, let alone starting pitching. You know, a guy gets Tommy John and it's see you in a year and a half. Now, they usually bounce back and pitch pretty well again, but it's all that time missed off the field that sucks. So hopefully Skeens can continue to stay healthy. He looks like an absolute monster out there on the mound. That is all I got for you, boys and girls, today. Just a reminder, if you won in the Fantasy Baseball League, 2 spots left. If that fills up, which it probably will, I'll launch another one in a couple of weeks. We'll let maybe right after the National, we'll pop another one up and get them going again. They are great practice for your real drafts. As always, curious for your thoughts and comments down below. We will catch you, boys and girls, on the next one. Peace.